Hi everyone, welcome back to Birich. I have Anand with me today. I managed to squeeze some time out of him, so I have him to answer some of questions which are in our mind, which are very fertile. One is, of course, there's only 10 more trading days left in this month. This year that is. Then we'll be upon the new year. So, what should be our focus for next year? Where should our mind be as value investors? I wanted to ask Anand. That is one. The next 10 days, what should we keep in mind as we're looking to chart out the end of this year? Is another thing which I wanted to ask him. And generally, what is his idea on what's happening in India and the world, and where he thinks macroeconomically and in India where we are heading towards. So before I get into stock specifics, I thought I'll first ask him to chart out what he thinks should be the end of this year. What should we do for the next 10 days?
Okay, next 10 days is not going to be a very light trade. The market went up, I think 2 days before it minus 300 and rallied all the way up 200 points. There was a 500-point swing. Yesterday, it lost about 180 of that. Today, as I'm speaking to you, it's down 250 points. There can be a massive recovery. Why? Because there are no FIIs. This is Christmas time. So Europe and America are shut. Any FII activity is friendly activity. That is money that has been round trip from India, and that is the only FII activity. And so the major player not being really present, you are not going to get distorted signals in the market, whether it's a deep correction or whether it's a day pullback. And there were two IPOs, Vishal Mega Mart and MobiKwik, both dirty IPOs in my opinion. 12,500 crores. People subscribe 2.5 lakh crores to that. So there's a lot of retail money floating around and a lot of mutual fund money floating around. MobiKwik basically is they are going to take money from the subscriber as a venture capital and try their hand. What happened is they were in peer-to-peer lending and other businesses. All their products have been shut down by Reserve Bank. So they are starting from scratch. And they are playing with the money given by the small retail investor. Either it's a big hit or a miss. It's like any startup. The Vishal Megamart, all Megamarts are in serious trouble because quick commerce is really eating into everything. In fact, it is cannibalizing into the food service business also. So quick commerce is in real trouble, and some big daddies have also got into it. So if DMart is under pressure, I do not know how Vishal will not be under pressure. This is the Indian scenario. Now, globally, what is happening is there is a lot of money is flowing back into America because inflation has not come down at the pace at which it is expected to come down. First, there's a doubt whether he'll cut rates tomorrow, and even if he cuts rates tomorrow, the speed at which he'll cut next year may drop. Because with Trump having a first full year of operations, you are going to have a lot of tariffs and saber rattling. How it will affect the American economy is something which is going to be watched, and it is the general feeling is if he cuts taxes, it will be inflationary, and therefore rates cannot be cut. So this is the feeling, but the strong dollar is continuing, and that is because all other assets are flowing back into US. The Indian rupee, consequently, as I speak, is trading at 84.95, which is just 5 paisa short of 85. And in the non-deliverable futures market, 16% of India's forex reserves have been pledged. So there is a lot of pressure on all sides. India's trade deficit has also gone up. We have a record trade deficit of nearly $38 billion. Our exports have contracted by 5%, primarily because your petroleum exports have dropped. Petroleum exports have dropped because Reliance is the biggest exporter, and it has dropped primarily because crude prices have crashed. And looks like peak oil is past us because India is the only market where there's growing demand for petrol and diesel. All other countries, the amount of diesel petrol has come down. Therefore, in spite of a Rosen soft deal, Reliance is going to find it difficult to export more. Not because it will export quantity, but how much profits they'll make is a big problem.
The big question mark.
The refining margins will come down. And plastics is a hyper competitive. As far as US is concerned, they are surplusing oil and they have enough refining capacity. And Europe is going to, in 2031, 2032, will be completely electric, green. So you are not going to have much demand in Europe. demand for their petroleum products is going to drop.
Hmm.
So how is he? He has got lockstar a lot of debt.
Hmm.
He's refinancing $3 billion debt at a slightly higher interest rate. But more than the interest rate, he borrowed when the rupee was 71
Hmm.
and he is now has to replace it at 85.
Hmm.
As of now, he has enough dollar earnings. But most of his investments have come in telecom and in India,
Hmm.
where the rupee is depreciating.
Hmm.
So whatever problems Vedanta is facing, in a smaller level he will face. And that's why that stock is at a 52-week low. And valuing there doesn't look to be an immediate uptick possibility. Two of India's biggest billionaire, one is Reliance, the other is Mr. Ye. They have slipped below the $100 billion ranking. Mr. Ye is no more in the top 25 of the Bloomberg index. The other Ye, whom we talked about in detail, at number 10 or 11 in the list. But the biggest fish of them all, who lost their emperor just now, is nowhere in the list, claiming to be everything is in the trust. And that, according to another foreign report, is the actual valuation of the entire group is something like $4.3 trillion. But they are not there in the list, even though they control nearly 70%
Yeah,
of it.
because it's not in their name.
It's not in their name. They don't have any necessity to put it in their name. It's in 70% in trust. So this is the state of the international market. My own feeling is that there will be correction, and A is definitely a bubble.
Hmm.
Whether the bubble will pop next year, I do not know. But definitely, if inflation doesn't fall in America, there will be pressure on America to keep rates higher, which will mean that more money will flow into US dollar and US dollar will strengthen. But the problems for the US economy is going to come from a different place.
Hmm.
The maximum bond that they have
Hmm.
is 10-year bonds. That
Hmm.
means bonds which they were issued in 2014 have to be rolled over now.
Correct.
Now, these bonds were issued at 0% interest rate. Now you are paying 4% today.
Yes.
Even if you pay 3% next year, the amount of money you are going to pay, because the government of America does not pay the bondholder,
No.
it just rolls it over.
Yes.
So rolling over will mean higher interest payouts.
Rolling over, for people who don't know, means they reissue the borrowings. They
Yeah.
reborrow. It's like taking a gold loan. Instead of repaying a gold loan, you roll the gold loan over for another few years. You can do that.
So the
Same way the government of US can do that.
So the interest repayment they have to pay will keep climbing.
Hmm.
So which means that the deficits will be out of control. The deficit in good times now is 6%. So either they increase taxes or cut costs. Neither is going to happen.
Both of which they're in a gambit.
Yeah, both is not there. So 10 years from now, they'll be in serious trouble. But 10 years is a long time.
Trump won't be there.
Trump won't be there. But it is a question of relative fall. When dollar falls against gold, rupee will fall against the dollar.
Hmm.
So each fellow will compete with each other to
But the argument there, which has always been and it still continues to be, is but they hold the reserve currency, so they can do what they want to do.
So all currencies will depreciate
Hmm.
and gold will rally.
Okay.
All things will be more expensive.
Yeah, money will become more monopoly money.
So money will become more monopoly money. If you have debt-free large consumer brands, you will do extraordinarily.
Yeah, but the argument from the rest of the world has been, if price goes up, earnings go up, and this monopoly money is what you say is true, they all agree to it, but they're like, it doesn't really affect us.
It affects you.
How does,
inflation will go
across the board, the worldwide, every currency getting depreciated because of the dollar?
I'll tell you what inflation.
Hmm.
This is an inflationary spiral.
Hmm.
In an inflationary spiral, there are two groups.
Hmm.
One who has already got the hard assets, another who is going to get the hard assets. The group which has hard assets is already ensconced and already settled. Right? It happened to me in the 90s. My grandfather and father had done well in life. I already had the real estate before liberalization came. So after liberalization, my father was abroad. My grandfather had real estate. So two generations could eat and sleep. Right? So I could afford to make big mistakes, which I did, and come back. But because we were already in a very strong position.
Hmm.
So the rich will, what inflation means is, the rich will not get poorer. The rich will get richer and richer because he doesn't keep
because
cash.
inflation, hard assets and inflation.
He has hard assets. He doesn't keep it in cash.
And inflation pushes it up anyway.
Yeah,
Even if you don't do anything, gold will keep appreciating.
So gold will keep appreciating very fast. Land will be out of reach in the cities for most people. You maybe have land, but I don't know whether you can monetize it. But all this is going to be crazy. And the craziness can be seen that you have a man who has $400 billion already. So there are 8 companies which are worth $1 trillion. In 10 years, you will have 200 companies or 100 companies which will be worth $1 trillion. And you will have a couple of gentlemen who will be worth more than $1 trillion. But 35 years back or 40 years back, being a billionaire was big.
It was like thought of an impossible thing.
Impossible. Now everybody is a billionaire. There are more than 1,000 billionaires. It's only inflation that's pushed it up.
Yes, true.
Because gold has moved from 300 to 3,000 for an ounce. Right? It was in 1971 $36. So from $36, it has gone to 3,000 ounce. Which, if it hits 3,600, is 100 times. And it does not. All it means is the dollar has depreciated so much. And so therefore, very clearly, you will have more trillionaires and more billionaires in terms of today's rupees. But if you discount it back, there will be nowhere. So overall, what we are going to have is higher inflation, gold going through the roof. Any temporary correction is a good opportunity to buy gold.
Correct. So all what you've laid out, that means next year, no matter what the way it goes, there is a lot of uncertainty for 2025. There is a lot of confusion, and there's lots of pockets where things can really become from bad to worse. So these situations are going to create opportunities in the market, because the markets suddenly can become greedy, suddenly can become very fearful.
Yes.
And whenever we see these extreme opportunities arriving,
Yeah.
The next question a lot of our viewers are asking is, if we are looking at the step investment, right? And over a long period of time, they're saying, if we know that NATCO or any of these companies, like Dr. Reddy, NATCO, whatever we're looking at, are at great value, why take my 24 lakhs and spread it over 10 years' time? If I can afford to, some of them are individuals who can afford to drop 24 today.
Nobody
Why
can
not?
afford to do.
Some of them are asking if they can take a large position today.
No. Everybody. What happened to Manappuram?
Yeah. That's why I wanted to explain to them what happened.
What happened to Manappuram? What happened to PG Invit? How many calls I'm getting on PG Invit? So you will get thousands
of... The psychology, yes, because it is impossible, because it is human psychology.
Why
you cannot say you're not human. Yeah.
Why I am not here? I am in a position not to see the market is because I just buy what I can afford. So that's money already lost.
And the mere fact that you're asking us this question shows that you're greedy. Meaning you're saying, why should I do step by step and get to this point when I can get greedy and take a gamble now? So it shows that you're ruled by those emotions. And those same emotions can switch in an instant with the market. Anand correctly says, when it flips. Let's say you entered Manappuram in a huge position, and when you saw coming from 220, coming down to 270, 260, you took a huge position. Then you saw it dropping all the way down to 130 with all this RBI news and all this, court saying no to them. You heard all that news, you would have panicked. Seeing your 24 lakhs becoming, 18 lakhs, 19 lakhs would have created a panic. That same greed emotion would have flipped on you in an instant and created probably a lot of sleepless nights. And now that it's come up a little bit, you will be itching to probably even get out. And that same emotion can again make you flip and say, okay, you've recovered and you knew you were right.
Remember this. Yeah. If you had put 10 lakhs in Tata Steel in 2008, it became 2,50,000.
Yes.
It happened to Ratan Tata. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah, and Ratan Tata is Ratan Tata. Okay. He believed in the business. He's invested in the business. He didn't care about share price. He believed in what he was doing, and he was working towards that. And that is a different mindset to have than to look at the market as an opportunity to triple your money or double your money. If that is the kind of mindset you have, you are not investing.
If you are really committed, go out and start a pharma company on your own.
Correct. If you have that kind of capital and you have that kind of ambition, trust me, Anand rightly said, if you really want to make X 100, X 200, you are much better off if you have that kind of capital trying to start a venture than trying to flip it in the market. This kind of a playing field is meant for individuals who have the patience to build a block at a time over a long stretch of time. If you try and do anything other than that, you may land up with a situation where you have deep anxiety and having a lot of sleepless nights. Anyway.
Thank you for watching Be Rich. I hope you like our video. If you did, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification. We do have a Hindi channel for your friends and relatives who know Hindi, and they can subscribe to that channel. It's called Paisa Boltha Hai. I'll ask them to put the link. Thank you very much once again for supporting Be Rich.
Thank you.
Hey guys, that my uncles Vinod Srinivasan, Anand Srinivasan and I have rolled out our Substack, which is basically a blog/newsletter where we're going to post our original research onto it, and we've analyzed macroeconomic trends. And a lot of you know my uncle Anand Srinivasan and I regularly write for The Hindu, and these articles are also going to be made available for you in the Substack. The link is moatinvesting.substack.com. You'll find it in the description and in the video right now. We hope you go check it out. We've put a lot of time and effort into it. And please give us comments and feedback on what you read. Thank you.